Good evening, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, I want to give all praises to Yahweh. I also want to acknowledge my earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. I also want to acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I was going through some videos, and this video kind of popped up, and I thought it was pretty entertaining, pretty funny. And I wanted to share a little bit of it with the brethren, and kind of give you a little bit of my spin and my take on it based on the scriptures. This guy, this is Common Sense Show again, and he gives his opinion. It's just, I'm sure his view is very common amongst many Edomites and many Gentiles. And it's good because you kind of get a chance to kind of hear what they have to say, and then you kind of get a chance to test it with history and with scriptures, because everything falls back into, the Most High's plan. And he's exposing so many different things. He's reproving the other nations and the things that they've done, where they try to, belittle a lot of the stuff that's happened in history and act like that doesn't matter. And, with that, belittling, they try to make it seem like they never have to pay for these kinds of things, and that we can just kind of just let things go and move on from here. And the Most High is not allowing that. So that's not me, saying that this is what the Most High says. Everything, everyone has to pay for everything that has been done. We've had to pay for all of the sins of our forefathers, and the shoe's about to go on the other foot. And a lot of the other nations don't want that to happen. They want things just to, hey, you know what? Let's just be friends and going forward. And the Most High is not about that. He's just. And if he did it to us, he's going to do it to the other nations as well. So I'm going to play a little bit of this video here. And it's funny when he talks about racism. Look how quickly he wants to kind of just bypass it and move on and act like it never happened. Here it goes. Let's play this real quick.
I'm still trying to make sense out of what's going on with regard to the fabricated, weak-supported allegations of racism in this country. Yes, it exists on an individual level, but it's not institutionalized. It's not coming out of the office of the president. They're totally bogus charges on a macro scale. And I can't, for one, really understand what's behind it, but I think I'm going to try to piece it together for you. And I'd like your opinion in the comments section when we're done. Hi, everybody.
What? Racism is not institutionalized, and it's only on an individual basis. And these are like unfounded allegations of racism in this country. I mean, it's just amazing, because the fact that these people are still trying to act like this stuff never happened, and it still isn't going on. It's just pretty amazing. I'm just going to kind of go through a couple things that I have written down that I've done some videos about before, about this institutionalized racism. And that was actually racism that's been going on since the inception of this country. That's actually that's what this country's been founded upon. It's funny because a lot of these people who are on the right wing and stuff always want to act like they're for smaller government, but they've benefited from the biggest, big government programs when they steal land from the natives and give it to them. Those are huge government programs. When they, when they use the FHA program, which is a huge government program to give loans only to white people and allow them to go out into the suburbs, those were huge government programs. Social Security, I'll talk about that really quick, but a lot of these were huge government programs that benefited white people. But it was okay for all these big, huge government programs when it benefited them. So, people are just totally ignorant of their history. We have in 1618, the Head Right Program, which was the legal grant to give land to settlers, 1 to 1,000 acres of land given to the people who brought indentured servants and slaves. Okay, so that was just a big government program where they took land from somebody else and gave it to someone else. In 1830, got the Indian Removal Act. Andrew Jackson passed a law that the Indians had to be removed, and they were moved west of the Mississippi River, and then all that land was given to white people. In 1862, you had the Homestead Act, signed by Abraham Lincoln on May 20th, 1862, led to the distribution of 80 million acres to the public by the 1900s. So there, again, another program where you're taking land from one group of people and giving it to someone else. These are big government programs. In 1935, you had Social Security. And Social Security excluded people that worked in agriculture, um, and like home support, or like maids, people who worked inside of homes, which were mostly African Americans at that time, or so-called African Americans. And agriculture would be your Latinos, and our people as well. It did a lot of that as well. So half of the people that actually should have gotten Social Security did not. Then we have the Federal Housing Administration, or FHA. 98% of loans were given to white people, another huge government program. Redlining wouldn't give loans to blacks, black people. I said, so these are all huge programs. So to sit there and these programs um, kept on going and kept the racism going on perpetually for many, many decades. Okay. We also had in 1935, we had the Wagner Act, which was a bill signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and where unions were created, but people of color were excluded. So these people were not, our people were not allowed to get good jobs, didn't have protections at their jobs. Um, I mean, so for someone to sit there and say, well, the government, there's racism. Yeah, it exists, but it's not institutional. I mean, and it still affects our people even to today. So that just shows, I mean, a total lack of, this is really being disingenuous when you're saying things like that. Because when you're doing these kinds of things for hundreds and hundreds of years, it's going to affect our people even to today. Let's continue.
Everybody, this is Dave Hodges. I'm the host of The Common Sense Show, and we are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. I am so glad to be bringing this report to you because this definitely needs the antiseptic of shining the light of day upon it, and that is the subject of racism. The New York Times is, I think, setting a record for a biased, bigoted, prejudiced newspaper, as their writers are engaged in an ongoing onslaught of terrible allegations to, shall we say, go after whites. The anti-white mantra is nonstop. It continues unabated, one editorial after another. What is behind this? Why the New York Times? Well, it's not just the New York Times. It's also CNN. It's also the Washington Post. It's also a lot of organizations such as, well, the IMF. The International Monetary Fund has come out and says, I support, listen to this, folks, we support South African land confiscation and all that needs to happen to facilitate its implementation. That means genocide. So the International Monetary Fund, run by the banksters of the world, it's a Rothschild organization. It's the old-fashioned Illuminati. They are saying they are anti-white and they're promoting genocide against whites. There's a common theme here, isn't there? Is this going to be...
Okay. Well, we've already had a discussion about genocide and everything else and how that's not true. But, okay. The reason why this is happening, since this guy's kind of can't understand why this is happening, is because this is the will of the Most High. He said he was going to put things back in order. He was going to fix things so people knew the truth. So that's why there's a switch. These people at these newspapers, they're all doing the things that the Most High has ordained. I'm probably gonna have to make a video later on about how the Most High controls both sides, the right hand, and the left hand, which you would say would be the good side and the evil side. He controls both. So when you start seeing things that might seem negative, he's in control of both. But let me read really quick about how the Most High said he was going to reprove these people for the things that has been done. He's going to put things back in order. Let's get that real quick. Let's go to Psalms chapter 50, verse 21. Well, let's start at 21. Well, let's start at 20. Let's talk about Jacob and Esau. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou slanderest thine own mother's son. It's been Esau slandering Jacob, us, the whole time. In the newspapers, in colleges, and with the law enforcement, throughout the entire society, how Jake is always put at the bottom, always looked at as the criminal, always looked at as the dumb one, always looked at as the one who's lazy and doesn't want to work hard. That's the way we've been portrayed this entire time. Okay. While he puts himself up as, the pure one, the one without blemish, the hard worker, the one that's just so smart with the money. That's why he has so much of it, because he works so much harder than us, and that we've all started at the same starting spot, and they've just done so much more with less. It says 21. These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee. Hold on. I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. So he's going to reprove them. He's going to make true. He's going to get the truth out about all these lies. Okay. So now consider. Well, the main thing there is that he is going to reprove them and set them in order before thine eyes. He's going to lift us up and bring them back down to reality. And that's why this guy's having such a hard time with, why are all these negative, articles about our people? Why are all these people going against us? Because the Most High has said that that's what was going to happen. He was going to reprove the ones who have been lying, the ones that have been telling all these, non-truths. He was going to be the one that's going to do that. And that's what he's starting to do. Let's read one more. Let's go to, let me see, Revelations chapter 3 and 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. He's going to make everyone know who he loves. That's what he's going to do. And that's why there's all these things that are happening that, you would never have heard of before. Because he's going to reprove things. He's going to put everything back in the correct order that it should be. Now, the next part is going to be kind of funny. He's going to talk about, his few black friends. All the white people always say, well, my best friend's black. Yeah, right. Okay. he kind of talks out of both sides of his mouth in this next part. Check this out.
The unifying mantra that tears America apart, or this is all pre-jockeying, positioning for what's going to happen here, because certainly the New York Times, the Washington Post, and CNN are laying the groundwork for this to happen. There's no question that we're in a lot of trouble. Now, it just so happens, to the course of my living, my professions that I've had, I happen to know a lot of people of color. They are disgusted by this. They don't support this one iota. But there are the George Soros related crazies of Black Lives Matter, MoveOn.org, people that can be hired through Craigslist for $18 an hour to go start mayhem, even kill people. This is where I think we are headed, and this is how it's going to mushroom, and then it will explode.
Okay. So the black people he knows are just disgusted with this, and disgusted with the racism, right? And I guess pretty much just low level black people are the ones that will actually, for $18 an hour, will go out and protest and do all these different things. I mean, like I said, that's kind of racist right there. So I guess pretty much the higher end black people that he knows are just disgusted about this. But the low level, Negroes who don't know anything, who can be easily bought off for $18 an hour, will commit murder and kill people for $18 an hour. You want to know? Let me help this guy out. Do you want to know your black friends that you say are disgusted about this? You know who want to know who those people are? Those people are the sellouts. And if you want to know, 2/3 of our own people are sellouts. So most of the ones you see, you'll see 2 out of 3 will agree with you. 2 out of 3 people of color will agree with you. And you want to know what? This is actually even in the Bible, because these same people that will agree with you today and will support you and support your system. I said they were here back in history, and I'm going to read a little bit about that to you right now from the book of the Maccabees. The first book of Maccabees, chapter 1, we'll read 11 through 15. Now, these were Israelites, you know, people of color, because that's what Israelites are, who wanted to go join the ways of the heathen, just like many of our people today. And I said, and they'll stay with the heathen until they die. Okay, because the Most High didn't choose them. He's only choosing 1/3 of his own people. 2/3 of our people aren't going to make it. Let's read that real quick. First book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So this dude here in the Common Sense Show, those are your friends. These are the ones that decided to turn their back on the covenant of the Most High and join themselves to the heathen. So they become a heathen just like you. So therefore they hold the same views that you hold, because they think that they're one of you. They're like from Django. They're like Simon from Django. We sick, boss? Huh? Because they think they're like you. I said, but you got to understand that the Most High was going to wake up the ones that He's chosen, and they're not going to be the low level, ones that you keep talking about, the ones that are causing issues. The Most High is going to put spirits on people to cause issues, but He's also going to open up the eyes of many to be able to see the truth. Okay, but like I said, you will find plenty of Hebrews out there, who will hate their own people in order to secure their own social status. Like I said, you'll be able to find plenty of them, plenty of them. But what's in store for those Hebrews of ours who are joined to the heathen? Most High talks about that too. Let's get that real quick out of the Bible as well. Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. I just love how it's always like that. It's always the same thing. A lot of people, a lot of heathens will always say, well, I have black friends and they don't agree. Or here, let me trot this one black person out here. See, why can't you be like this one black person out here who agrees with everything that we say? You love that when you watch these shows like on Fox or CNN, they'll find one black dude who will agree with the white, the Republicans, and they'll keep trotting him out. And you keep seeing this one black face who's actually saying the same things that all the Republicans are saying, or vice versa, and then they act like that's good enough. Well, look, this guy's black. He says what we say, so therefore, what's your problem? But like I said, you'll be able to find plenty of black people out there or people of color that will agree with stuff that you say in order to maintain their social status. But the Most High already said, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. So if the heathen are hoping that just because they find a couple of black people that will agree with them, that all of a sudden they're going to be good and they're going to be punished, The Most High said, yeah, even though you join hand in hand with some Hebrews, the wicked are still going to be punished. Okay? One more. Isaiah 13 and 15. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So our people who are joining themselves with the heathen are going to be thrust through. That's what the Most High says. Like I said, these aren't my words. This is what's in the Bible. And the Most High is, is letting that happen. You can see the Bible playing out in regular and everyday life. Let's play a little bit more of this.
Now, my black friends will still not participate in this, but it doesn't mean that the flames aren't going to engulf all of us. This is very serious. And now more than ever, we need to be reaching out to people who we might ordinarily not contact in our regular lives.
Okay, listen to this part because this is pretty funny. Who he's talking about, the people that we might not talk to in our regular lives. He's referring to black people or people of color. Let me just listen to that part one more time. And how we got to band together now.
Reaching out to people who we might ordinarily not contact in our regular lives and try to. People of different backgrounds, of different religions, different races, and show kindness and sympathy and love and respect for. Why? Because this is the way that we undo this plan. We can't control the inflaming that the New York Times is doing.
So it's like, so now we got to reach out to people of color or different religions and show them, show them kindness. Well, if you've never done anything wrong, why would you need to do that now? You see, you got to, like I said, speaking out of both sides of your mouth. At first, you said there's not really that much racism going on. Then you said, well, most of my black friends, don't agree with this. But then it's like, well, we need to reach out to people that we normally, wouldn't talk to and show them kindness in order to undo the stuff that's been done. See, like I said, they're speaking out of the two sides of their mouth.
We can't control that rhetoric. We can't control the crazies that'll be influenced to act in a violent manner. But we can limit the damage by the way that we conduct our lives and by the way that we treat other human beings.
If they're worried about that, that's something you should have been worrying about a long time ago. Not now that the Most High is now getting ready to bring judgment. Can't have it both ways. Can't say on one side, on one side of your mouth that there's not much racism, or it's only on an individual basis, it's not institutionalized, and then the other side say, well, we need to be nice and try to work things out with these people now. I said you can't have it both ways. But the Most High is the one who's bringing all this. Most High is the one that's bringing all this stuff to bear and putting things in their faces. All praises to Yahweh. Again, I want to acknowledge my earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. I also want to acknowledge Yahweh Shai. I pray this lesson was a blessing to you. Shalom.